Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Make sure you, like, share. If you're new here, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to fire away. We have a few topics to talk about. We're going to start off with the SEC, of course. We're going to get into Hunter Yurachek and the NIL. I don't know if you saw that from the Little Rock Touchdown Club. I guess that happened today. It was fascinating, to say the least. So we will, we're going to touch on that. And then, of course, we're going to have some final takeaways, as we always do on Monday. However, we have a poll that's up. And the reason why it's up, and I know someone will complain about the thumbnail. They'll complain about the title. They'll complain about the subject matter. But listen, fans are a part of all this, right? And a lot of the fan reaction in other Razorback content creator comments on Twitter, Facebook, social media, there's a pretty large group of folks that were not happy about what happened on Saturday. They were expecting Arkansas to blow UAB out of the water. Didn't happen. And fans believe it's more of the same. Fans believe it's just more of the same. And that nothing's going to change and so on and so forth. However, I don't know that the subject that Arkansas taking on water, in other words, like we've talked about, if Arkansas was the SS Arkansas and they struck an iceberg, are they taking on water, or can they make it to their destination, which is 6 wins? Right? They're in the middle of the Atlantic, and they're trying to make it to, I don't know, whatever bowl game. Maybe it's Birmingham. I don't know. Maybe they make their way up the Mississippi somehow. I don't know. A lot of questions. So that's why we have the poll up. That's why we have the title the way that it is. I'm going to have – listen, anyone who's followed me long enough knows I'm nothing more than just – I'm honest. I'm going to give you my honest take on all this. So, yeah, there's a little bit to talk about. We're also going to go over some PFF stuff, some PFF numbers a little bit. I've got some quarterback numbers that I think are fascinating from the game against UAB on Green's behalf. Heartbroken Hawk says, Ty, it will be the Liberty Bowl again. Listen, making a bowl game, period, should be considered a win, all things considered. So, again, if you guys are just joining, again, make sure you like, share, subscribe, help out a small independent channel who YouTube actively hates. And I'm not even I don't cover politics. I'm not talking about Nerdrotic. I don't know if you guys follow Nerdrotic or not. I love his videos. That dude is Gary. All of that content is so fun. Him and Critical Drinker. But they come out and they speak out against, some of the stuff that's going on in Hollywood. And they're always under the threat of being demonetized and all this stuff. And then you wonder if they're going to get deplatformed, if YouTube's going to push their content, which they have no choice because those are big channels. I'm a small channel, and I'm not – the thing that hurts this channel, I don't monetize it, or the live shows anyways. I do monetize after I'm live, but while I'm live, they're not monetized. So there should be no ads. I have it set where I can manually throw an ad up. And I do that on purpose to try and act as like a guard against the ads for you guys who are willing to be here live. So obviously you're losing money when you do that. When a channel does that. YouTube will not recommend channels to do that. They won't do it. They won't push out notifications because I'm not making them any money. So that's the thing I'm fighting against. And there's some other stuff, swearing and all this other, whatever. Whatever, man. I'm not the most PC channel that covers the Razorbacks. I'm sorry. And from time to time, I dabble in the, little smoking of the cigar. All right. So please share the content. If you want to support this small channel, consider going to our Discord, joining Patreon. It's real simple. It goes a long ways. We've added a couple of people over the weekend. I think we're still sitting around 110. I really think we could bump those numbers up, man. I really do. Heartbroken Hog says the Critical Drinker is awesome. I love Critical Drinker, man. I love that they're also not PC. But they're so big, YouTube has no choice but to push notifications. They're going to always be at the top of your if you're looking up like movie reviews or whatever. Another good one is Film Threat. I love Film Threat. I love those guys. So I highly recommend those channels. I love movies. You know, I would say movies have taken over my number one spot of things that I love as far as what I do in my leisure time. It's no longer gaming. Gaming is not number one. It's movies. Really, movies has always been like number one, but used to love going to the movies. Matt says, damn, son, it's time for a cut. Now you see why I wear the sunglasses on the head to pull my hair back so you don't get Matt saying goofy crap like that. Ty, you've never done anything that should be considered crossing the line. YouTube is soft. Well, it's not so much that, but when you swear, there is a belief that if you swear, especially in the first few minutes of your videos, they will not recommend your content. They won't push it. But again, mostly what it is, and I know I'm not out here talking about politics. I'm not talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, Republicans and Democrats. I don't get into that here. This is escapism. Do I want to sometimes? Do I let it slip a little bit? Sure. But mostly what hurts this channel, I'm not linked to any, like my videos are not embedded into any articles, right? Used to be. Once upon a time ago, there were a couple of websites that would embed, that would put my videos up, but they no longer do. Don't know why. Well, I mean, I have an idea as to why, but it is what it is. I don't monetize my videos. Again, YouTube's not going to recommend that. They're just not. They're not making any money off this video. I keep getting told, like, Ty, you need to go to Rumble. You need to go everywhere. You need to be on Twitter. You need to stream more often here and there. And I'm like, man, I'm just an old school cranky. Like, I just do things my way. Yeah, but it'll help grow viewership. Okay, cool. They can come find me. Good evening, Ty. What's up, Point? How you doing, man? The boys have played up to expectations to now. We will learn a lot more after the next week or two, says Hoyt Allen. All right. Lance says Auburn made a change in their quarterback. Yep, they're going to a freshman quarterback, it looks like. Kid that played last weekend. I think he's a redshirt freshman. We did hear from Sam Pittman today. I was there. I was in the Zoom call. I have it downloaded. I haven't actually gone over it. What we'll probably do is on Wednesday, if I can't get a guest lined up, we may cover a little bit about what Sam said and then some, go into some more detail. And then, of course, by the end of the week, which will either be Thursday or Friday, we'll do our Auburn breakdown. I'm really aiming towards moving that show to now on Thursdays. I'm really aiming, and I'm thinking about doing that. From now on, maybe we don't do a Friday show. We let that show on Thursday marinate for a day. You know, someone texted me the other day and was like, bro, I didn't get your notification on your last stream until Saturday night. What? So and that was not the post game. That was the show from Friday. So I'm thinking about doing those now on Thursday and then letting that show marinate on Friday. So just some stuff, some updates. I know some people hate it when I do that. They want me to get right into it. Listen, man, I'll say it again. I treat this more like it's more like an interactive radio broadcast where I can actually read what the listeners are saying and I communicate with them. Okay. I was also getting tagged a lot about today in Discord about fighting Bo Mattingly and Trey Biddy in a boxing match, some kind of charity boxing match. Someone texted me like, bro, why are you going to go beat up on Trey Biddy or something? Aren't you like twice his size? The only thing Trey Biddy and I have ever discussed is playing EA College Football 2.5, and something tells me he would I think I would beat him. I really do. I think I would beat him at EA College Football 2.5. It would depend on the teams, obviously, if they're even, but I think I could beat Trey Biddy. The problem is I haven't played the damn game in like probably a week and a half, but I think get a couple of games under my belt, get warmed up. I think I could beat Trey, but I don't know where all this boxing stuff's coming from with Bo Mattingly. And first off, Bo Mattingly probably comes up to about my chest. I feel like I could pick him up and throw him. I love the guy, respect him. I know some of you don't really, you thought he was a little biased towards Brett Bielema and all that. I don't care about that. His quality of radio show is good. I like what he's doing with Chuck. But I could probably fold him in half. I could probably pick him up and throw him. And I don't want to. Now, we're talking about boxing, right? We're not talking about MMA. Trey Biddy's a pretty stocky dude, though. That might actually be, pound for pound, that might actually be a pretty good, that would probably be a good match. But I think he would, I weigh a lot more than him, I'll tell you that much. There's no media member that's in my weight class, which is the really fat weight class. All right. I can already hear the rage typing now. Ty, cut the bullshit. Just get right into it. Ugh. All right. I don't want to fight those guys. I like those guys. Would I get involved? So I guess there's something about a charity boxing. I don't know. I don't know if that's where that's coming from. Something about John Neighbors. Give me like some time to train, right? Give me a few months to try and shed some weight. All right, let's start off with around the SEC. I don't know if you guys would say the weekend was good or not for the conference. There were certainly a couple of games that just had me, not just the Arkansas game, but there are a couple of games other than the Arkansas game that were, I don't know, a little like I thought so-and-so would beat the hell out of so-and-so, right? LSU in South Carolina, it looked like South Carolina might run away with that. LSU hung around. Again, when you have these close scores, and by the way, shout out to LSU for finding a way to win on the road, right? In a close game. Winning close games on the road. That's what decent teams do. We're not going to get into Arkansas's close game record. It's not pretty. But they found a way to win 36-33. A&M 33-20 over Florida. Not really. I mean, that's probably a few more points than I would have imagined, because I think A&M's defense is pretty good. Somehow Florida put up 20. I think they made a quarterback change, right? Or did Mertz? Who threw for them? I didn't catch any of that game. I'm going to be real. Vanderbilt lost to Georgia State. The Pimps are down. No. I wanted them to win so bad. When's the last time Vanderbilt started out 3-0 with a win over a P4, P5 school? Oh, I wanted them to win. How do you lose to Georgia State, but you could beat Virginia Tech? I'm telling you, week 1 versus week 3, that stuff matters. The more film you collect. Auburn beat the brakes off New Mexico, who's now 0-3, by the way. 0-2 on the road, 45-19. It's probably about what you would expect. Of course, we know that's Arkansas's next opponent. We're going to get in. I know you guys want to go right into Auburn. Listen, I do 3 shows a week. I try to aim, well, technically 4 if you count the postgame. But we saved the Auburn talk, the opponent talk, for later in the week, okay? But they did win that one. Jaquez Hunter is the real deal, man. 20 carries, 152 yards with a touchdown in that. I know we all want to say Jaquindon is the best back in the SEC. I don't know. Like, it's still too early to say, but Hunter would like a word. Toledo, who's now 3-0, maybe Toledo's just that damn good, went on the road and beat Mississippi State 41-17. Shapen threw for 319. Coleman, 7 grabs, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Some numbers here just looking at, you're like, all right, well, that, they should have won that. Sounds like they were successful when you consider the opponent, and it's like, nope, they got throttled. 41-17. They're not happy. Mississippi State fans on their message boards are having a cow. Did we cover everybody? No, we didn't. Tennessee 71-0 over Kent State. Missouri beat a pretty good Boston College team. I don't know. Maybe the jury's still out on Missouri or on Boston College, but I think Missouri's pretty good. Boston College at one point led this thing I think it was 14-3, and Missouri was able to come back, score 14 in the second quarter, 7 in the third, and then 3 in the fourth. Boston College would score 1 touchdown in the second half. Missouri, they might be one of the best half-to-half adjustment teams, they're good in between the halves. And I seem to remember that being the case last year as well. Missouri, again, finding a way, 27-21. Of course, this was at home. Ole Miss over Wake Forest, 40-6. I thought that would be at least a little bit more competitive, but God, Dart, I was looking at his PFF numbers. I know it's early. I don't know. I'm not paying enough attention as far as like going into more details, more in depth on some of the other quarterbacks around the country. But Dart, his numbers right now are like he might be one of the top 5 quarterbacks taken off the draft board. He did throw a pick, however. This was not a game at home for them. But he threw for 377, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But his numbers are through the roof. Alabama over Wisconsin, 42-10. Texas over UTSA, slaughtered UTSA, 56-7. Now, the head scratcher, Georgia, Kentucky. Georgia won 13-12. I don't know what's going on with Beck. I don't know what's going on with the Georgia offense. Is Kentucky's defense really that good? Is this just a matchup that's like it's going to be competitive no matter what? I don't know. This is probably another one of those games where it's like, okay, week 12 on the season, would this happen again? Would Georgia and Kentucky be competitive? Obviously, you got to take injuries into account and all that, but man, it was a fight, and I watched some of it. I really thought for a moment Kentucky was going to win that game. You talk about changing the landscape of the SEC, even though it's an early season loss. It would have been a loss to a team that's already lost a game. It was 1-1 coming into this game, talking about Kentucky, who's already 0-1 in SEC play. This would have shook a lot. Maybe not like the foundation of the SEC, but it would spark a lot of conversations as to maybe Tennessee and Ole Miss are the 2 best teams in this conference. In Texas. Well, I know Texas is number 2. So I guess it would be Texas. Who would you line up in your top 5 right now in the SEC? Who's your top 5 in the SEC? Is Georgia still your number 1? That might be a good conversation for Wednesday. I was a little surprised by this. I thought Georgia was going to roll, something like 35-7. A pretty easy game. You got to remember again, it was a tough one at Kentucky. That's pretty. They're competitive there. They're competitive at home. I kind of had a feeling they wouldn't let it get into like the 50s, right? That was my thought going into the game. Oh, it'll probably be like a 39-7, 39-10, 13-12. I mean, that's like a 1974 football score. Just crazy. Again, if you guys are just joining us, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hog Fan says Ty Azuz. Okay. Hog Fan, you're already hitting the bottle, I see. You're already hitting the bottle, I see. Toledo has always had a solid passing game, says Christian Bradley. David Scott says, I can't see the Hogs winning at Auburn. Can't see this team getting 6 wins. Yeah, I mean, I know I said we're not going to talk about Auburn, but we are. I am asking the question. Is Arkansas taking on water already? So far, it's pretty damn close. 57% of you say it's an overreaction. 43% of you are saying, yeah, no, they're taking on water. King Command says LSU South Carolina officiating shows the SEC biased. Yeah, that was. Yeah, you're not wrong. I just don't know if they still protect Auburn. God, you hope not. Mike says Texas number 1, Georgia at 2, Tennessee at 3, Ole Miss is 4. Then he says huge drop off, Mizzou 5. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's actually a pretty good top 5. I almost want to switch Ole Miss and Tennessee, but their offense is humming right now. I agree with you 100%, Megan. What did Megan say? What did Megan say? Let's scroll up. Well, where? I can't find it. I don't know what Megan said. I don't know. Megan, copy and paste what you said. What are these rumors about Jarius Wright and Joe Adams being shown the door? Yeah, I don't know enough about this, Sean, to comment on it. I thought about making this a part of the show, but I just don't know enough. But I guess I saw where Rakeem Boyd tweeted about this, and it was you got to remember what they were celebrating this weekend. And I didn't even know it was Jarius Wright and Joe Adams. I didn't know that. I thought it had something to do with maybe just not inviting – some of these former players. Rakeem Boyd, you understand. I stand by what I said. I mean, I don't remember how all that played out, but it looked like the optics at the time was that he quit on the team. Those were the optics, but that's been so long ago, and I feel like some of that's been debunked, and I also feel like we're missing a piece of the pie there. So whatever Megan said, she deleted. Oh, just my ranking. Okay. Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Bama, and Arkansas. Megan, you've got Arkansas in there? Really? Okay, interesting. You've got Arkansas as the 5th team in the SEC. Over Ole Miss, over Mizzou. Whew. All right. Okay. Megan on the sauce. That's Mike. History shows it's a sinking ship, as always. All right. Keeping on with the SEC, you do have – there's only really one game that I think I'm really interested in. That's Tennessee at Oklahoma. 6:30 on Saturday. What a game. That will be one of our predictions, by the way. I don't know a damn thing about Bowling Green. I imagine they're not very good, but A&M, who knows what's going on with A&M. Georgia Southern's taking on Ole Miss, and then you got Louisiana Monroe at Texas at number 1. They've got Texas. So Texas is at that 1 spot. Florida at Mississippi State. This weekend's going to tell you a little bit. Ohio's at Kentucky. UCLA it's in Baton Rouge. Number 16 Tigers. Vandy's at Mizzou. That one could be interesting, but you feel like Mizzou's going to find a way to win that. Tennessee and Oklahoma is the game of the week. I mean, despite what happened this last weekend, I mean, I've heard people try to twist that Oklahoma should be a top 10 team just considering the talent they have on the field and the fact that they're starting off the season so hot. You got to look at who they played, but this is an interesting matchup. 2 potential playoff contenders here. Very interesting matchup, and of course we know Arkansas has their Arkansas and Auburn at 2:30. Well, I guess we don't have an exact time yet. Is that right? They haven't given us an exact time. Right now the spread is at Auburn -3. The over-under at 58.5. So what game? Is there a game you're looking at maybe other than Tennessee and Oklahoma? Is there another game you're looking? Is Vanderbilt and Missouri? Maybe we're not paying enough attention to that because, Vandy, again, they imagine if they were 3-0 going into this game. I mean, that's all you would focus on is the fact that Vandy's 3-0 going on the road to Mizzou. Probably still not ranked, but I don't know. Then again, they did beat a P3, P4 school. Maybe they would be. I guess it would depend on how that last game went if they had won by the margin, whatever the margin of victory was. So not a lot of great games. I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of games that just pop up that are like, this game is not supposed to be going down that way. You look at Ohio at Kentucky, who knows? Is Ohio worth a damn this year? What do we know about Ohio? They're 2-1. Okay. Yeah, they lost to Syracuse on the road 38-22. Yeah. Kentucky should take care of business there. Florida, Mississippi State, the Florida coaches just do not have a great history with Mississippi State. Those head coaches, remember Ron Zook after he lost to Mississippi State? They fired his ass the next day. Or was it that night? I just remember being shocked, like, okay. Poor Ron Zook. He did that interview where he's crying. God dang, man. I kind of liked him. He seemed like a good dude. Florida at -5.5 on that one. You're going to find out something this weekend about the SEC. We're going to find out whether, all that talk about whether or not Oklahoma belongs. Though this is a game to test that theory, whether they do or not, because Tennessee's killing it. They're off to a hell of a start. Tennessee's favorite at -7. So, yeah, A&M's favorite at -22. South Carolina over Akron, 27.5. And, yeah, Auburn's still favored by 3. Well, Les, I was talking about the SEC. I don't know, in the top 25. Let's look. Yeah, I always focus on I probably should have pointed that out. I always focus on the SEC, but what is the top 25 looking like? You have Stanford at Syracuse. A couple unranked games there, but that's your Friday night game. Illinois at Nebraska. Number 24, Illinois at number 22, Nebraska. On Friday night. Saturday, let's see, Marshall's taking on Ohio State. NC State at Clemson. That might be one worth watching, although NC State overrated coming into the year. I wouldn't take. I would take Clemson. Although that's right now it's sitting at 20.5. Kansas at West Virginia. West Virginia's favorite at 2.5. Let's see. Yeah, USC's at Michigan. Ooh, Ann Arbor. That's at Ann Arbor. So yeah, there's a good game right there. USC currently favored at 5.5. Georgia Tech at Louisville might be entertaining, but I would still take Louisville. Right now they're at 10. I'm trying to go down the list here if there's any other notable games. I'm sure I'll miss somebody. Utah at Oklahoma State. You want to know maybe how legit that game was between Arkansas and them when Arkansas nearly beat them. If you beat a top 15 Utah team, you're undefeated. You're likely a top 10 team. They're already kind of on the outside looking in as far as making the playoffs. That would be a game that kind of starts to set them apart from the rest of the Big 12. Of course, they get their toughest game all year. They get it home, of course. But good for them. Utah number 12, that'll be a very interesting game. Yeah, I don't see any other. There's so many games. Oh, my God. Kansas State at BYU. That's 9:30. KSU favored at -7. All right. Let's get into some SEC stats here really quick before we move on to we've got some NIL stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about. Scoring offense in the SEC right now, Tennessee at number 1. Keep in mind, these guys have only played 2 games. They're averaging 60 points. We know that number will come down as they play more games. They have 120 points in those first 2 games, but 15 total touchdowns. Ole Miss number 2, Alabama number 3, Texas 4, Arkansas 5. Now this is scoring offense. Arkansas slid a little bit. Who's right behind you? Arkansas's at 46 points a game. Auburn at 44 points a game. They're at 6th. Vanderbilt at 7th. Now, these are all teams that have played 3 games, right? Mizzou at 8th. They're only averaging about 38 points. Oklahoma's averaging 33 points at 9th, and LSU's at 10th at 33 points. Florida, Kentucky, and South Carolina. Well, Kentucky's at 16th. Florida at 15th. South Carolina at 14th. Rushing offense, Arkansas still in the top 3 behind Tennessee and Texas A&M. That's a little bit surprising behind A&M. Defensively, Arkansas doing good here as well against the run, averaging giving up just an average of 61.7 yards a game on the ground. I would say that their run defense for the most part has been pretty good. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's not been any huge gains on the ground against Arkansas. It's some of the gaps in the secondary. It's these silly penalties. Just silly. What is scoring defense for Arkansas? Okay, they're a little lower than I thought. They're at 13th in the SEC, but they're still only giving up 22 points a game right now. Now, We start to really look at these numbers and take them seriously when you get some SEC games, some conference games under your resume or on your resume. We're kind of looking at these right now going, yeah, okay. Yeah, you beat the hell out of the UAPB and, whatever. We'll start to really pay attention to these once you get some more games, get some more weeks under your belt. But you only got 12. You only got 12 games. You're out of that. You're out of that. Well, no, hold on. You're out of the experimental phase of the season, right? Like, if you're looking into doing something with your playbook, you're coming out of that. A lot of teams have played at least one conference game by now. This is Arkansas's first coming up. You've got a piece of your schedule already out of the way. Isn't that crazy? We're already on to week 4. That's nuts. That's crazy. It seems like we just started the damn year like last weekend. No. You're starting your SEC part of your schedule, and the gauntlet begins. Fun times. I appreciate everyone for being here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hey, shout out to the sponsors of this show. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. Free estimates. Free. They'll give you a free estimate. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Also, shout out to Insurance Max, business, personal, life, and health insurance, retirement. They shop the best rates for you, covering the entire state of Arkansas from corner to corner. Why not click on the link down below and see what Insurance Max can do for you. A first-class time every time. Where's that coming from? Come on now. I know there's some radio sports listeners out there. Let's get into this NIL stuff. I found this interesting. Again, this is from the Little Rock Touchdown Club. This is Hunter Yurachek. Let me pull this up. Oh, nope, that's not what I want you to see. Nope. All right, what I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this as the backdrop. That's Edge, okay? This is part of that NIL collective. Here's Hunter Yurachek talking about the original meaning. This is a couple of different videos, probably about 2 or 3 minutes long. Bear with me. I think they're very important. I want you guys to listen to this.
I mean, it has been terrible.
Oh, wait, y'all can't hear it? What? It's showing volume on my side. Hang on, let me look. Hang on. Let's try this. Let's pump this up.
And our student athletes in that first year did an incredible.
Can you hear that? We're able to hear that? I'm going to wait on you guys to respond here really quick. I'll rewind it. Okay, there we go. I'll rewind it. Let me rewind it. There we go. Again, Hunter Yurachek on the NIL.
It has been terrible. It's been awful. NIL, the way it was intended, July 1st of 2021, that if a student athlete had a value to their name, image, or likeness, and there was a business, product, or service, like one of these many businesses up here, that wanted to use a student athlete to market their business, product, or service, well, they could receive compensation, valid compensation to do that. And that's how this all started. And our student athletes in their first year did an incredible job going out and knocking on doors and beating the bushes, and they generated almost $2.5 million in what I will call was legitimate NIL agreements that they went out and got on their own. But in college athletics, we are our own worst enemy. And we find the loophole to every single rule in the rule book. And we found a loophole where we created these things called collectives. And collectives are donors pooling their resources together to pay student athletes, collectives under the auspice of doing work, charitable work, whether that was tweeting about a charitable organization or signing autographs or making public appearances. But the amounts of money that were getting paid were simply ridiculous and still are ridiculous, and they just continue to be ridiculous. And because when businesses are making decisions, you make good business decisions, right? If you're going to hire a student athlete to market your business, you're going to pay them market value. Well, collectives aren't paying market value, they're just buying teams. And so that figure has grown to just a ridiculous number, and athletic directors are charged many times with going out and raising those dollars through various means. And now we've finally gotten their footing at the University of Arkansas in the NIL world, but we're not where we need to be. I will tell you, the upper echelon of the SEC in football is probably spending double of what we're spending on our football program right now in the NIL space. That's reality. So, I mean, you can blame that on Sam Pittman, but it's not Sam Pittman's problem. It's his problem, but it's a money problem, right? Because if someone's spending double of what we're spending, they're going to have a corner on the market.
All right, for Leslie and people that are complaining about the sound, and I know somebody after the fact will as well, that is the loudest Twitter. I could download that video. There's nothing I can do about it. I've got the volume cranked all the way up, so I would just, I don't know, read the captions. I don't know. Turn your volume up as loud as you can, connect it to a Bluetooth speaker. I don't know. That's the best I could do. But there's captions on there, and I think there's captions for this one as well. So there's one more video. This one's not as long.
Everybody loves that Ole Miss is in the top 5, right? No, we hate it. We hate it. Ole Miss has about 5,000 members in their football collective. 5,000. We have about 1,000 in our football collective right now. They have 5,000 members. We have 1,000. If we're going to catch up, like I'm going to make it so easy for you. If we could get 10,000 households across the state of Arkansas to give $100 a month, 10,000 households to give $100 a month all year long, we would be in the NIL game from a football perspective. It's that simple. But we can't say the Tysons, the Waltons, the Stevens, the Hunts, hey, they'll take care of it. Because they're not. They're not. They are so incredibly generous, and they have done so much for our program. But if we're really going to get a handle on this NIL and remain competitive, we need to rally people across this state, and we really got to take some pride in the Razorbacks.
Okay, what you're looking at here, and I've got plenty to say about what he just said. This is Edge, and I wanted to be fair. You know, I wanted to show this. I don't know what about this is super appealing to fans. Now, there's a lot more going on here, right? Like that $25 digital pass. Join digital with Hogs Plus. You can add Hogs Plus for $5 more. It just really goes towards the support of the players. Now, he said they have 1,000, right? Look what the bronze pass. I hope you guys can see that clearly. Tell me if you can see that clearly or not. The bronze pass, you get some swag, $50 a month. Member exclusive hat. Receive 10% off at Wright's Barbecue. I mean, come on, dude. 10%? Wright's, you couldn't do a little bit more? I mean, come on, 10%? That's not even taxes in Fayetteville. You get the car decal, all the benefits of Digital Pass. I don't know if we know really what that is. Maybe one of you guys can help me with that, figure out what that is. The Silver Pass, which is $100 a month. It's still just 10% on the Wright's off, by the way. Member exclusive signed memorabilia and ticket giveaways. Discounted pricing for member events. I mean, have they had very many of these events? Because I can remember them talking about this when they first launched Edge member exclusive tee, so on and so forth. $250 a month, which is the gold pass. Meet and greet autograph sessions. I'm sure they've done those. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Discounted pricing and priority access for member events. And receive 10% off Wright's Barbecue. Here's the problem. And I've had Courtney Mims on. We've talked about this, and I always go back to the whole, chicken or egg, which came first. You need the money to get the players. But the problem is, and this is the other side of this, you have to have a fan base that wants to contribute. 1,000 people or 1,000 households so far. I could tell he's frustrated. And that's why I put it in the caption, or why it's in the title. He's frustrated. I mean, you got to remember, this is a member event. This is the Little Rock Touchdown Club. You can see it on the guy's face. He's a little frustrated when talking about it. And I'm not blaming him at all, guys. The NIL stuff is just beyond frustrating. It is. I can only imagine. I'm sure this keeps him up at night. I think he's doing the best that he can. The problem, fans are just, let's be real. I don't care if you're on the keep Sam no matter what bandwagon, if you're on the, just 5 or 6 and he's fine bandwagon, or if you're on the, if he doesn't win 6, he needs to be fired bandwagon. I don't care what side of that you're on. Who's excited about Arkansas football? Who's excited about this right now? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be. I think the Petrino side of this makes it very interesting. I think the Petrino aspect of this makes it very, very interesting. It should give you a little bit of hope, right, for the offense. You certainly have seen a little bit so far this year, right? But we're sitting here talking about whether or not this program has already taken on water. And now I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm not saying that is the case. That's what's been in my DMs. That's what's been in my group chats. That's what's been in my text messages. That's been the conversation in Discord, although not as often, because we do have a few people who shout down anybody who has a consenting view on that, or a different view. We need to work on that. We need to allow people to have their space to say kind of how they feel about what's going on, so long as they're within the rules and guidelines of Tusk Talk Discord. But there's just not a lot of excitement. And I don't know how many people – I've listened to other content creators talk about it. I'm not going to name names, but I've heard them talk about it. I've heard them talk about traffic in certain places not being what it used to be. It's down. The interest in Razorback football is down, and that is a reflection of the guy that is the head coach. There were conversations, we all know it because we were having those conversations right here about whether or not he should keep his job for a 5th year. So this is part of it. You want to bolster the NIL. There's just not a lot of excitement. Now, again, I'm not saying you should fire Pittman. I'm not saying that. Don't get it twisted. I like what they did in the portal. I like the additions from, with the coaching staff. I mean, God, they kind of killed it with Jaquindon Jackson, didn't they? Hill's looking really good. Taylor Green, I kind of think the jury's out on right now. I there's some good, but there's some really fantastic there. But then there's some bad and whatever. I think they did a pretty good job in the portal on the offensive line. There were still some areas around the defensive line I have questions. I still have questions about linebacker. They went and grabbed a former 5-star linebacker who's right now one of your top 2 leading tacklers, or maybe the leading tackler. They've done a pretty good job for the most part, especially when you consider everything. And these are the consequences of keeping Pittman for a 5th year. They just are. Now that is just the fact of the matter. There may not have been anybody available, and that's why they kept Pittman. Of course, we know, too, his buyout and everything. Do you want to pay another coach's buyout? You still have the whole Chad Morris. Are you going to go out and hire another Chad Morris? Or are you going to stick with the guy who at least who's got a couple of bowl victories, who's been to a couple of bowl games, who had an outstanding 2021 season, and in his first year, really he should have won 4 conference games, but he won 3 conference games his first year. Whereas how many had you won in the 2-3 years prior, right? Pittman did right the ship, and you have to give Hunter some credit for that. But now it's about maintaining the ship. It's about being able to get it to that bowl game. And right now, again, we're having a conversation about how much water they're taking on. He's built the foundation. I just don't know if they're crumbling the foundation right now or if they're going to build on top of it. I'm waiting to see. Unfortunately, in this new era of college football, it's very difficult to build a foundation and then to build on top of it. Just ask FSU. Ask Notre Dame, who lost a head scratcher of a game a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to maintain. And then you have coaching changes, and then you have players going pro and all that. Like, there's just so many things on top of the portal, right? NIL demands and things that are going on in the offseason. I do feel for Sam Pittman. I do feel for Hunter Yurachek. This is a lot. But the product on the field, it's why you're at where you're at. That's all I can tell you. That's why Arkansas's in the situation that they're in. There's just not a lot of excitement around Razorback football. Basketball is on another level right now. Baseball is always going to be high. As long as Dave Van Horn is here, you feel pretty comfortable. Hopefully they don't repeat what they did the last 2 years in postseason play, but, whatever. That's baseball. It happens. Football's just not it right now. And I really think the only way you could change the narrative, and it starts this weekend. You could change that narrative. Guys, I don't want to tell you. I'm not telling you my prediction for Saturday until the end of the week. Arkansas can absolutely beat Auburn. Arkansas can absolutely beat A&M. Arkansas can absolutely beat LSU and Mississippi State. Absolutely, they can beat those teams. The problem is close games, your performance at home, clock management, game management. These are all, they're not even underlining issues. They're like out, they're staring you in the face. And again, it's why, they had a whole bunch of people at kickoff for UAB. What happened in the third quarter? They were gone, man. That didn't used to be the case, no matter what the scoreboard said, no matter who the opponent was. People stuck around. Arkansas had a reputation for no matter what happened, they were if they weren't going to show up 70,000+ strong, if they showed up 50 or 60,000 strong, you expected that many going through the fourth quarter until things started to really unravel and look like, no matter what you're going to lose. Then people, like anywhere else, they start to head for the exits. But now it's become a thing where, even with a comeback victory, fans are headed for the exits by the third quarter. Say what you want about the fans. You could talk about the cost of everything going up, which is just part of it, right? Good old inflation. It's happening not just at Arkansas, but I just think fans are, I don't know. I can't remember a time where you've had a coach for a few years and things fizzled out like this. I really can't. Now, Chad Morris, we know what happened with all that. There wasn't a lot of excitement heading into year two, and obviously they were calling for his head by week 2. Week 3, they were done. They wanted him gone. Fans wanted him gone. I think fans love Sam. They're not thrilled with the product on the field. And consumers are consumers. They don't like the product, they're going to walk away, right? Just ask. We talked about movies earlier. Ask all the Star Wars content on Disney lately, the Marvel stuff. Like, people, they're not thrilled with the product. They don't like the messaging behind it and all the bullshit that goes on with what's going on in these movies. They walk away. They don't want to watch it. They don't want to see it. That's their right to do that. I would think, listen, you should stay. You paid for the ticket. You ought to stay all 4 quarters. But they're not. They're not thrilled with the product. So now you're trying to sell NIL, and you're upset that Ole Miss has what they have. Why does Ole Miss have what they have? You had Lane Kiffin. You had him. You thought you did. And look what's happening at Ole Miss. It's excitement on another level that we haven't seen probably since Bobby Petrino 2010. They're having their moment in the sun, and they're killing it. So is Tennessee, right? Tennessee's killing it. We'll see if they can keep that going. I was a little surprised how things went for them last year, but I think Heupel's a pretty good coach. Yeah, there's only you can change the narrative. You could absolutely change the narrative. You could go out, you could start by winning these games instead of these moral victories, instead of coming close. And again, I think Texas, yeah, I obviously wouldn't pick Arkansas to win that. I wouldn't pick Arkansas over Ole Miss, but hold on. Pittman has actually played them pretty competitively, but right now, no, I would say Ole Miss, right? Mizzou, I would say Ole Miss. Mizzou, I would say Mizzou. Tennessee, I would say Tennessee. No matter where that game's at, but it's in Fayetteville. So, but given the most recent history, how poorly they've played at home, I think fans are just kind of over it. It just kind of is what it is. Fans have become the most impatient too. No longer do you have years to build a program. And you're not wrong about that. Jerem? Baves Jerem? I feel like that's a trap. I feel like I'm reading something I'm not supposed to. I mean, you're not wrong, but that's everywhere. That is the condition of the market as it is now. That is the condition of the sport as it is now. Fans everywhere want to win now, especially with the portal. You want to be competitive. Because Lane has steadily got Ole Miss better, and that's the point that I'm making. Lane Kiffin is the exciting hire. Lane Kiffin. I wonder if Florida comes after him. I'm curious to see how that plays out. We all know he's not going to survive. Napier's not going to survive. There's no way. Love the Razorbacks, but we are losing the next month and a half. 6 games straight, says Curtis Johnson. Damn. Jeremy Gray says, Ty, the nerve for Hunter to complain about NIL. You do not hire a position coach and keep him at 4-8 year 4 and fill the NIL coffers. It's Hunter's fault. Like I said at the beginning of this little rant, these are the consequences of keeping him. I want to make it perfectly clear. I'm not saying fire him right now. I'm not saying that at all. You need to let this thing play itself out. If you win, and if you can imagine, and I know the cynics are going to say, Ty, it's not going to happen. But just for a second, I think these next SEC games are winnable. Imagine if you win 2 of those 3. The narrative begins to change. What happens if you win all 3? The narrative really does change, and that's college football. Man, you play on Saturdays. That's all there is to it. But no more of this playing like shit at home. No more of losing these close games on the road, playing up or down to your competition. Stop with that. Become competitive and win the games you should win, and maybe, win the ones you're not supposed to every once in a while. And it's not like Sam hasn't already done some of that. And you have to you got to feel pretty good that Petrino is your play caller. You got to feel really good about Jaquindon Jackson right now. That dude has been playing his ass off. Come back into Fayetteville and get beat by Tennessee, which, Curtis, they're going to beat everybody. Right now, Tennessee's on another level. If you won 3, you're going to forgive losing that one to Tennessee. Let's be real. Okay? Yeah, I would love for them. Maybe that's the game that you want them to win that they're not supposed to win. But, man, if you beat who seems like within reach, you're going to go bowling, and you guys can handle it from there as far as how you feel about that. All right, our poll right now, 47% of you say that Arkansas has taken on water already. We're almost at 50% each. That is so if you haven't taken the poll yet, feel free to take it. Again, 53% of you say it's an overreaction. 47% of you say, yeah, they are. They're taking on water. If we could stop Tennessee from setting a new pass record, I'll be happy. Oh, man. They got a lot of questions with that secondary, but they got to get healthy in the secondary. I don't know. I get Hunter trying to appeal to fans. Listen, man, I've told you guys I worked in marketing, and they're doing what they think is best. I think there's some other things I would think about, I would consider doing. If I'm Hunter, I'm hitting up all the radio stations, which I think he's done a pretty good job of that, trying to push edge. You know who else I would hit up? If you're hitting up the radio stations, if you're willing to call into ESPN, why not talk to Trey Biddy on his YouTube show? I don't know. I don't know how he would make that work. I don't, pull up StreamYard and send Hunter the link and let him call in and have a conversation about it. I would be more than happy to have him on and let him talk about Edge. Would be more than happy. Reach out to the content creators. Radio is still radio, and it's still great. And I there's some great content, especially I like the Morning Rush. I like the Chuck and Bo's show, Phil and Matt. I like those shows. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't listen to the Buzz that often. That's just because they're not on my airwaves up here in Springdale. But reach out to content creators. Get the word out about Edge. I might think about racking up. You've got Wright's Barbecue on there offering 10% up. See if they could come up to like 20% off. But then maybe fill that out with more local businesses. Slim's Chickens, I think they're a sponsor of the U of A. Maybe get a whole damn booklet of discounts, right? And then spread the word. Go to every Razorback content creator, whether they're credentialed or not. I know that might be some of the concern, but listen, ESPN's credentialed. He's going on ESPN radio. Right? Hasn't he? Am I crazy? I feel like he's called into that show. They used to all the damn time. Jeff Long would call in on Bo Mattingly's show. I think that's right. You've had coaches, why not? Reach out. Try to get the word out about Edge. There might be a question about credentialed members because, they already have access to the U of A, and maybe maybe there'd be some concern there about how they treat, whether they're biased towards the U of A or not. So then reach out to the uncredentialed people. I don't care. Get the word out. And then maybe fill out the discounts. I think the discounts need to come way up. Wrights is your only discount? Like, man, there needs to be more. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see it. But it's beyond that, though. We know what really will fix this. We all know what will really fix this. It's winning. Winning is quite literally the cure-all. There will be a lot less cynics if you can defeat the narrative. I said it last year. I thought they had the players to do it, and they went 4-8. They have the players to do it this year. I'll say it. They do, to at least make a damn bowl game. And that'll appease some folks. I know some people that still won't be enough. I get it. You need to be at 7 or 8 wins, and maybe you're right. We'll cross that bridge, assuming we can get to it. We'll cross that bridge. But, yeah. One more look, again, at the Edge, if you guys want to see it.
Loves it. Ole Miss is in the top 5, right?
Whoop. Didn't mean to play that. But one more look at it if you just wanted to check it out. You can just go to ArkansasEdgeNIL.com. ArkansasEdgeNIL.com. All right. I spent way more time on that than I thought I would. There's no rights in Montana. Yeah, well, maybe one day. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. We're going to get into this final takes on Arkansas versus UAB. I've watched a couple people break the game down. I've rewatched not the entire game, but I got through. I wasn't able to completely cap it off, but I got through at some point in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's nothing I'm going to say here that you haven't already heard. Like I always say, the Monday show is just more of a balanced take. But let's take a look at the PFF right there. There's our PFF. These are Taylon Green's numbers. I blocked out the grades. I probably didn't have to do that, but I did it anyways. Went ahead and just blocked it out. You never know. But there's something here. Again, this is just really if you are really curious about what he did. Some of these numbers are just putrid. They're bad. Now, these numbers have also, I noticed they've been adjusted because his under pressure number was not that high. And if I'm looking at this right, I think you guys have the same slide that I'm looking at on my screen. If you look under pressure, his dropbacks, the PFF is claiming he's under pressure 50% of the time versus UAB. Now, I don't know. These numbers may shift again. I don't know if it's that high, but he was certainly under pressure. I don't know about 50% of his snaps. His completion number drops to 45.5%. When blitzed, he's at 55%, which in all honesty is not as bad as you would think. There's some really good quarterbacks who the numbers start to drop on the when blitzed category. But he's at 55.6. I mean, I've seen some pretty good quarterbacks drop down into the 40s, high 30s, but he's at 55. But his under pressure number at 45.5% is just, I mean, that's bad. That's not good. I don't have his season total there on the screen, but it doesn't change a whole lot. Clean pocket percentage on the completions, meaning he stood up in the pocket and made the throw. He's 40%. Now, they don't have the drop percentage correct. We heard Sam Pittman today talk about 5 drops, and that's what I counted. I counted 5 drops. And so I don't think PFF is right on that. Now, they're not always right on everything. 5 drops. And that sounds right. Even 2 is not great, but that's kind of probably about the average. 3, you're getting into some dangerous territory with 3 drops in these close game scenarios. 4 is absolutely what the hell's going on. And then 5 is just asinine. 5 drops. Broden had a rough game, and it's not good, guys. And I don't have to tell you that. He still grades out pretty well. And again, I don't take their grades. I don't like their grading system. It just doesn't make sense. How he graded out at 90.4. His completion, what was his completion? Like 42.3%. I think that's what PFF showed. How do you grade out at 90? I don't get it. Out of play action, did you guys catch that number? Look at this again. Look at the play action number. 33% out of play action. 33%. That is bonkers. That's just not something. Assuming these numbers are right, and I wish I could. It'd be great if we'd have access to Bobby Petrino and show him this and just be like, hey, what part of this is right? What part of this is wrong? I'll tell you, the SIDs and coaches do not like PFF, and they're rightfully so. I'm always a critic of their grading system, but some of the deeper analytic stuff, you could see it play out when you watch film. Now the drop percentage is not correct. That number's actually been all over the place. At one point, the drop percentage was at it was a lot higher. Now they're saying it's at 15.4, which is still pretty high. And Marion Harris, I thought, played pretty poorly. Landon Jackson did some things against the run that were pretty decent. He ended up with 4 total stops. And if you're curious, a stop is not just a tackle. It's, according to PFF, defensive stops or tackles that constitute a failure for the offense. And he registered 4, which was the most, tied for the most between him and Xavion Sorey. Sorey ended up with 4 tackles. All 4 of his tackles were stops. They have Landon Jackson at 5 total tackles. The defense, especially in the secondary, a lot of issues. Jacob Zano, it's not like the guy lit the world on fire, but he had 3 passing touchdowns, 23 of 32, only 1 pick. Now, someone said that Arkansas was ass against the run game. No, I think they did a pretty decent job. Jacobs had 15 carries for 62 yards. That's just 4 yards a carry. His longest run from the line of scrimmage was 11. Lee Beebe Jr., who's really I kind of thought would be the guy that would get the most carries. He had 12 carries for 43 yards, 3.6 yards a carry with a 15-yarder under his belt. Again, they ran the ball 35 times for just 119 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. I think they actually have done really well against the run so far. Where it's starting, where you wonder if they're going to get things right, or I should say, when you get into SEC play and your depth starts to get tested by actual good offensive lines, Not that Oklahoma State was bad, but obviously Arkansas was able to shut them down with their run game. Couldn't get pressure. But when you get into SEC play, and you're playing against potential top 3, top 4 round draft picks up and down the offensive line, when you're playing against a running back that's actually capable, that's not overrated, you've got Hunter coming up this weekend. You wonder if they can hold up because the depth is the biggest issue for that defensive line. Now, some of the younger guys have gotten some snaps, and it's not been all bad. It really hasn't. Slaughter had a rough game. Damn, it did feel like they were picking on Slaughter. He is not someone I thought would have that kind of game, and he did. Quincy Rhodes got a few snaps under his belt. He ended up having a pretty decent game just in terms of grades, PFF grades, but he only had 1 tackle, but he had a 100% success rate. He had 0 missed tackles, but he only had 7 total snaps. There was somebody else that got – who was it? Yeah, Ian Jaffard actually did okay. Didn't really do much, but he did get credit for a hurry, again, according to PFF, with 1 tackle, with I guess a 0%. They don't actually have that filled out for him. So you saw some younger guys get some opportunity. Cameron Ball, I thought against the run was okay, but everything else it looks like he struggled in. You are a little bit concerned about the interior depth, defensive end depth. Now, when it comes to Landon Jackson, against the run, he's actually been pretty decent. He's been pretty good. Again, he had 4 stops. He ended up with 5 tackles. He had 0 missed tackles. Actually, he had 6 total tackles. When you get as many reps, he had 65 snaps. That was like the second most snaps on the defense behind, actually it was the third. Marquise Robertson got 72. TJ Metcalf got 72. Yeah, and Landon Jackson at 65. I don't see anybody else ahead of him there. But 0% misses on the defensive line with 4 stops, 6 tackles is pretty good. He's pretty solid against the run. And you can see that raw power. He can knock somebody into a play. He's going to do it. He's going to knock a lineman into the play. You watch. He's got the power. He's got that burst. What we're not seeing is when an offensive line slides its protection, when the quarterback slides his protection towards Landon Jackson, and he's getting chipped, and you don't have another threat on that defensive line, people are wondering why they're not getting more pressure on the quarterback. It's pretty simple when all you got to do is stop number 40. I don't think he's an elite defensive end. I think he could be a really good SEC defensive end, but he's going to need some help on that defensive line. And there's just not enough. Nico Davier, who did get credit with some hurries. Jackson got credit. Again, this is very – Arkansas.com has a different number here when it comes to hurries. But, again, PFF has Landon at 5 hurries. I don't know that I agree with that, but they've got Nico Davier with 3. I think I saw him with at least 2, so I can confirm 2 of those. He needs help up there. And they're not racking up enough hits on the quarterback. I think they ended up with 1 or 2 against UAB. And we saw what they did against Oklahoma State. This is just it's a major red flag right now. I don't know why. I thought Jukic or Davier would kill it. I really did. And I thought maybe one of those interior guys might actually be a threat. You look at Cam Ball, that dude's an athlete. He can move pretty well for his size. They need a lot of help. On the offense, I know everyone wants me to bash Taylon Green, and I have been skeptical of his passing game, and I've said his ball placement, boy. I'll repeat what I said in the post game. If he has another game like he did against UAB, against Auburn, the put in Malachi rants are going to – they're already happening. They're just not as loud yet. It's going to be a challenge, y'all. You can't defend somebody who looked like that, who was as off, and how many missed opportunities he had. And, yeah, there were a bunch of drops. Like I said, 5 is the right number. 5 drops is insane. Maybe this score is a lot different if these guys hold on to those balls. But he still got off to a slow start, had trouble recovering, and then when he started to kind of settle down a little bit and make those throws and put them where they need to be, where only where a Razorback receiver can get their paws on it, they started dropping them. So it was like a perfect storm to just massacre his completion percentage. His numbers are starting to mirror what he did at Boise State. They just are. But I really believe with with Bobby Petrino, they can get that figured out. And you do that by scheming guys open. You do that by simplifying things a little bit. You work on it in the film room. Maybe you draw up more screen plays. Maybe you, I would say, run some more wheel routes, but he's already missed one of those. But you scheme guys open. You figure out ways to calm your quarterback down. You know what they used to do? They just draw up screens. Let him get a couple of easy completions. Boost his confidence up a little bit. Get the momentum going. Some quarterbacks, that's all they need. They need that boost with a couple of easy throws, and all of a sudden they're in. This guy started out 0 for 5 with a pick. Horrible. And I do think it was a calming down thing, and then once he did, he still missed guys, but then he started racking up the drops. The thing with TG is everyone has been saying he's going to have his ups and down games. He plays up to bigger games. I'm just glad this game happened now. Right. Yeah. Sure. I agree. People asking for Singleton don't know. They only saw him in action versus UAPB. I mean, I'll say through spring and fall camp, there was no quarterback battle at no point. But that's why you got to have these games unfold. You got to see what happens and what transpires on the field against an opponent. That's when you really know what you have. And then when you get, when you see another performance like this, then you start to question, all right, maybe they should put in Malachi. Steven says, TG has the ability to get it done, and Coach Bobby P will get him there. Just scheme guys open. Get him in a rhythm. Easy throws. Quick outs, bubbles, screens, whatever. I'm standing behind Green for now. Buddy can bail us out with his feet. And this is the thing, right? He could bail us out with his feet, and on his worst game, he still wants his Pigpen. You're not wrong. There is still something to take away from a win, though, right? You could still see some flags, even from wins. And there's nothing wrong with pointing that out. Because as we've seen before, where there's smoke, oftentimes there's fire. And we've seen some smoke. Now, he had a game, Oklahoma State with all of its warts and bruises. He still, my God, did he make some plays. He's just got, Static points it out perfectly. Got to clean up. Just clean up the mistakes. You can't miss these wide open. The ball placement has got to get better. You can't miss the wide open receiver over the middle of the field. Then you scramble out to the right side and you're in panic mode. And then he throws the ball across his body, which is insane, which is not good to do. A lot of times that ends up being a pick. Worst case scenario, it's just an incomplete pass. Ty, many keep saying that Petrino will not be head coach because he does not want it. Are you kidding? There are at least 5+ million reasons he would. Was not making much at Missouri State last few years. Jeremy, here's the problem. Listen, his fate, again, and maybe you've missed when I've said this, he's tied at the hip to Pittman. Pittman, now I've heard I don't even know if I want to get into the Odom stuff, but I've heard the Odom rumors about, well, if they bring in Odom, he's willing to keep his, the staff intact. I can't ever think of a time where that's happened. I really can't. Someone help me out. Has there ever been a time when a coach just leaves his job and doesn't take at least a coordinator with him, or doesn't just fire the guys that are here and goes and hires his own group, friends, acquaintances, guys with good reputations? How often do they keep everybody intact? It just doesn't happen. So I have such a hard time with that. Can't fix accuracy overnight, says Hog Wild. And we know they're trying to fix his where his release, throwing over the top versus his sidearm throw. Green showed us how good he could be and how bad he could be. It's a matter of limiting the bad, says Eagle. Yep, I agree. Odom is only willing to make those concessions because no other SEC team will hire him. It's just never. You don't ever hear that happening. I do not see that happening. I'm not saying they won't go after Odom. I'm saying if they did, I don't know that you might keep one. You might try to keep Bobby. We know he was hired with Bobby, and Bobby left for A&M. We know that. Maybe he would keep Bobby, but that defensive staff would be gone. I'm just going to tell you. I don't think Travis Williams and those guys will stick around. Woo Pig Suey all the way from Dallas, Texas, says Lorenzo Applewhite. What's going on, Lorenzo? How you doing, man? Look at that. Hour and 17 minutes. It feels like I've only been going for about 40 minutes. Ty, you're right. I bet best case is Petrino stays and we lose defensive staff if Odom came. Yeah, I agree with that. I could see that. I could see him keeping Petrino because of the already established relationship that they have. I doubt that Odom's pissed that he left for A&M. I'm sure he understood. Man, that's a big SEC gig, despite who the head coach is, right? Was not a great fit, and yet somehow, even with a quarterback we all thought was pretty damn good, even with Connor Wegman going down, they still improved in their offensive game. Jeremy says, I'd rather have Marion anyway, personally. Well, I'll let you guys have fun with that. All right, let's look at this poll. Okay, it is split. Wow. Is Arkansas taking on water already? 50% of you say it's an overreaction. 50% of you say yes. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because it's one game. They did underperform, but there are some realities here, okay? The theme last year was that they struggled at home and they were competitive on the road. What's happened so far this year? It's the same narrative. It's the same thing. It's not just a narrative. It's happened. They went on the road and damn near beat Oklahoma State. Whatever you think of them, whatever. Oklahoma State as at the very least a quality opponent. You took them down to the wire. You played damn good on the road. You still found a way to lose that game. Oklahoma State, they walked away with the W. But Arkansas found a way to lose that game. Sounds familiar. I'm going to say they're damn near taking on water. I think they're coming in. It's close. This is what I think, and this is the part some of you are not going to like. Auburn could very well decide the fate of the rest of the season. Now, maybe not. I don't have a super high opinion of Auburn. I just really don't. Based on what little I have seen, they've got this quarterback situation going on. They have some issues in other areas. Again, we'll talk about that later on in the week. You find a way to mess this up and lose again, buddy, you could be going on another losing streak. And that's a very realistic possibility. I know we've already kind of talked about that a little bit. They're coming close. Now, I would argue realistically they struck the Titanic or the SS Arkansas hit that iceberg last year when they went 4-8. So really they've already been taking on water since then. All the rumors about Pittman being out, he's gone, he's not going to survive the season. He survived the season. And then you started off the exact way you didn't need to start off, which was you lost on the road to Oklahoma State and you played ugly against UAB. You needed the reverse there, right? You needed to beat Oklahoma State and then take care of business against UAB. Didn't happen. It's the opposite that's happened, and that's I mean, you guys are smart enough. It is provided so like his seat's gonna be red hot if he loses to Auburn. I'm sorry, it is. the conversation, going 0-1 in SEC play, 0-2 versus quality opponents. Your quarterback has yet to beat a P4, P5 program. That's the guy you brought in through the portal. What? I can already hear it. That's the guy? What the hell's Bobby Petrino doing? What's going on with Travis Williams in the defense? The typical rhetoric, which I'm not saying that it's coming from nowhere based on what we've seen so far. Guys, listen, if you're pumping sunshine right now, I want to know why. I'm not saying you need to be negative Nancy, all right? Pessimistic Pam over here. I'm not saying that. But I want to know where the sunshine is right now. I think you're somewhere in between, right? I don't know. I would say it's an overreaction until next weekend. Next weekend is where this thing's we're going to really start to find out what the hell's going on. Now, there's another scenario that could play out as well, right? You could still lose to Auburn and then find a way to beat A&M. You can still find a way to beat LSU. I've not been overly impressed with any of those opponents right there. I think you could beat all of them, and that's what's going to piss fans off. You found a way to lose games you felt like you were in place to win, or that maybe you could win. Winning at Auburn's not easy, but Pittman, he's not exactly been terrible at Auburn. Eagle says, I've moved down my prediction but this weekend will be telling. I guess really my take is, let me back that up. I thought I had a pretty good idea of where I was at with this when I made the poll, but thinking back on it, I think you've already been taking on water, like I already said. And I said that in the post game on Saturday. You already took on water when you went 4-8. My thinking was, for the season, is this already a sinking ship? Is it already a sinking ship? Because, again, it's those narratives, man. They're a pain in the ass. And you did the things that you didn't need to do. Lost on the road in a game you should have won, right? Or you felt like it was definitely within reach. It was your game to lose from throughout, especially coming out of the first half. Poor clock management, poor just game management, lost you that game, and then you look like shit against UAB. Some people are reporting they didn't like the way the players were talking about UAB. They're talking about how some of their responses to their questions about personnel, how they just didn't have any answers. That's how much of that is they just didn't want to give away too much? I don't know. But they've given away more. They've never been shy before about giving away some stuff. Are they not paying attention in film room? Like, what's going on here? I know they, had some distractions with a baby and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. That's something that, whatever. That's behind closed doors. We don't know what's really going on there. I hope it's not leading into something. They just did not look prepared against UAB, and it's just more of the same. So I'm going to retract my statement and say that they took on water when they went 4-8. Now, again, my thinking was it's a new season, but we know it's a new season, but it's also you're carrying the baggage from last year. That's the nature of the sport. That's the nature of college football. That's the nature of any damn sport. You're always going to be carrying the baggage, especially if it's bad. You're always going to be carrying that baggage if you kept that staff or if you kept that head coach. It's always going to follow you. So nothing's changed from that, at least from a narrative standpoint. So I would argue they've already taken on water, and they're not doing themselves any favors by doing the things that they should have been avoiding, which is, winning at Oklahoma State. Man, that changes so much. Imagine right now if they had found a way to beat Oklahoma State. What would we be talking about right now? How would we be talking about this team? But that's the difference. That's all a part of game prep. That's all a part of install during your week of practice. That's all a part of your film breakdown. That's all a part of your halftime adjustments that didn't seem to be existent against Oklahoma State. It was against UAB, and I'm going to give them a lot of credit for that. They figured it out. Pittman talked about it today. Boy, we're having some success running the ball. Let's just do that. And they did that, and they dominated. I said last week, UAB can't stop to run to save their lives. And they didn't. They were horrible against the run. And you don't like you can't run the ball 70 times a game. Like you have to throw. You got to open things up. You got to run a little RPO. You need to screen and run some safer, closer kind of check down routes. Get your quarterback in rhythm. You need to do that stuff. You need to be able to open the offense up a little bit. I think play calling wise, Bobby's done a pretty good job. Again, we can go back to the Oklahoma State game when you decided to run Hill and not Russell on a very important down. We started the year with the drain plug left out taking on water. There you go. Right? That's it. Deke Adams can recruit, though. I don't know what that must be a pre-existing conversation. If we were 3-0, this conversation would still be going on. I think that's fair, actually. I mean, it is fair. It just depends on how you lost or how you won that Oklahoma State game and how you looked against UAB. Those are hypotheticals we can't really have. But I would argue, yeah, you're already taking on water. At least Sam Pittman is, which is all that matters. You damn right. His seat, it's not like it cooled off. We really need to win these next two so we don't go into an empty stadium against Tennessee. You got to generate some excitement. I agree with that. You've got to generate some excitement. And again, this team is capable of doing that. They are. They've just got to tighten up. Tighten up. Ty, they need to use the tight ends more. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you're wrong, James. I don't think you're wrong at all. Hey, if you guys want to help out a small channel, Patreon is the way to do it. All right? Patreon's the way to do it. We already have – I started on this yesterday. We have the Enemy Insider page. I don't have my takes on Auburn yet, but I do have side-by-side comparisons that are pulled from various different websites. Some screenshots there for you to check out. We've got team stars per 247, so just looking at the teams, comparing them in terms of talent, which only tells you a part of the story, but I still think it's fascinating. I'll give you my take and my prediction. You will see my prediction at the end of the week. I won't put that on there. I'm not even going to put in my prediction in our Arkansas at Auburn prediction, which is available on the main chat screen there. We got to get to 40, guys. We struggled getting to 40. Like, we only got to 40 predictions on one of our picks, and it's the Arkansas game. Guys, we got to get to 40 on all of them. Go now. Put in your predictions. I'll get some more games put up hopefully tonight. So, yeah. Ty, is it a hot take to say the defense is the weak spot of this team? Because that's what I'm starting to see after 3 weeks. I don't know. Steven, I'll say this. It's hard to cut up what the biggest problems are with this team, because there's like 4 areas you're concerned about. Taylon Green's ball placement and decision making. Receivers dropping balls. My God, I bet they have about 12 drops through 3 games. Pass blocking at times has been a little sus. Guys just beat Marion Harris. Wow. I don't know, man. I thought of Marion a couple times. Really struggled. Fernando Carmona has given up 2 sacks the last 2 weeks. Total. 2 sacks total, not in each game. The secondary, the depth with the defensive line, the lack of a pass rush. I mean, I could see where you're coming from, but it's hard to place all the blame in just one area, right? On one side of the ball. It's like there's so many issues. There's so many flags. There's so many questions. I don't know that you're going to answer them all during the regular season. That typically doesn't happen unless you're extremely well coached. Maybe you've been dialing back about 10 or 15% of your playbook. I don't know if that's the case. My God, you just went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma State. If that is the case, that's really impressive, because you probably should – there's no probably about it. You should have beaten Oklahoma State. Special teams. There you go. Megan says special teams. Always an adventure. Scott Fountain. Secondary looked like dog crap, says Bobby. I'm not saying it's a hot take because I know where you're coming from, and the secondary had a lot of questions. I mean, there's no doubt. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. I think you were already taking on water. If you're talking about just for the season, which I guess it's my poll, I probably should have worded that a little bit differently, but for the season, I would say it's a little bit of an overreaction just in terms of the season. Because you had one just bad game that you still won by double digits. You won by 10 points. All things considered. You really shut them out in the second half. You played much better football and defense in the second half. But, man, again, it goes back. It's going to come down to Auburn. And listen, you can lose to Auburn and still win a couple more games, which is entirely possible. But something just tells me this Auburn game is, maybe that's the win where I thought Oklahoma State was going to be Arkansas's win. You remember coming into the year, Oklahoma State was my win. I said they're going to find a way to win that game. They did the opposite. They found a way to lose it. So maybe they could make up for it against Auburn. It's a conference game, even though Auburn certainly right now does not look like a playoff contender. Again, shout out to the sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results, free estimates. They also offer emergency service 24/7, 365 days a year. 501-244-3667. That's the number to get a hold of Direct Service Overhead. Go give Travis a call. Someone told me in the chat a few months ago they got to meet Travis in person, and it was like meeting a celebrity. And I was like, I know the feeling. I've met him a few times in person. It's like meeting a celebrity. Travis is the man. He really is. Travis is the man. He'll do anything in the world for you. He's a good guy. He'd give you the shirt off his back. Really fortunate to call him a friend. Truly. He's done a lot for this channel. Can't wait. We're going to do – I'm supposed to push this. I'm going to be in the studio. Going to be in the Don't Read the Comment. I guess that's what they're calling it still. No, they have another name for their studio, but I call it the Don't Read the Comment studio. But I'm going to be with him and Tim for the A&M game. We're going to do a stream. What do you call that? Damn it, I always forget. Stream watch. Whatever. We're going to watch the game, and we're going to have a live show where we react to the game against A&M, and then, of course, we'll have the post-game show there, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, shout out to Insurance Max. They offer business, personal, life, and health insurance, retirement, covering all four corners of the state. Click the link and see what Insurance Max can do for you. I'm telling you, Jaquindon Jackson has been amazing. He has been the constant bright spot for this football team, and that's so good to see. What is he at on the year? I saw that earlier. Yeah, 47 carries. 47 carries for 397 yards. That's 8.4 yards a carry with 6 touchdowns. That's insane. That's pretty good considering you've at least played one ranked opponent on the road. We'll see if he can keep that going. You're about to run in. This is the gauntlet. It begins. It starts this Saturday. I'm excited. I mean, I am excited just to see how it handles or how it goes. Oh, yeah. Ty, at least we've seen the fullback finally. No shotgun on 4th down. It's pretty nice to see, wasn't it? Lone Sportsman Outfitter says, Stop by my tailgate at Jerry's World for the Arlington game. Look for the Lone Sportsman banner. So he'll be there. Go check him out if you guys are going to the game. Jackson running like he wants it. Love it. It's a Static J. Seeing a lot of new profile pictures, some new names. If you guys haven't already, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Shout out to ASN over on Facebook. If you guys are over there watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Check it out. Hit the subscribe button. Follow ASN, Arkansas Sports Network. Jerron Green says, I feel like Petrino is holding back some plays and throwing the ball a lot more than they will in the SEC, especially since they have the ran the ball. I think our boy Green. What are you smoking tonight? Having a hard time reading that, man. Ran the ball at will in each game. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they have. Nobody's been able to contain that run game. No one's been able to contain it yet, but to be fair, you've not played against an SEC front just yet. Let's put an end to this poll. This is how it's going to end. 51% of you say it's an overreaction. So there you go. I think it is based on the year. Now, like I said, I feel like they came into the season taking on water already. The Sunshiners won out, says King Command. It looks that way. All right, that is going to do it. I appreciate everybody. Check out those sponsors. Always support local businesses. Consider checking out Edge. Just check it out. See if it's for you. You know, maybe it's not. Maybe you feel like the U of A, just before you can do anything, give any kind of money, you want to see results. Nothing wrong with that. But I will see you guys hopefully Wednesday. I'm planning on that. I don't have a guest lined up. I kind of want a guest on Wednesdays. But maybe not. It may just be us. I don't know just yet. I'm sure I can get somebody. On. So, yeah, I'll see you probably on Wednesday. If we don't have a guest, if we don't really have a show lined up, we may do Thursday and make that the final show of the week. So we'll see. All right. You guys, I'll see you then. All right. Enjoy some Monday Night Football. Take care. Not as laggy this time. Killis 230. Looks like you're going to be the winner. Killis 230. Oh, it's going to be Ramon Shiesty. Ramon Shiesty, congratulations on winning the Dietrich Wise foil card. Badass layout. Even without the cloth. I've just never seen a card like this. I thought this is definitely legendary status. John Goodman or John Haas? Oh, John Haas! Jamal Anderson, foil autograph. Oh, it's back! Oh, or is it Megan? Oh! All right, Matt Jones, autograph card. 3, 2, 1. I was like, oh, shit, I don't know how I'm going to get this to her. Ooh, Austin or Thomas? Austin or Thomas? Austin! Damn, over here complaining about people winning.